shooting like before. One more down, and one more down after that, and we'll be on the same level.
This one?
Yep.
Right here?
Perfect.
Stubborn. Hey, see, go. Come on, let's go. Good girl.
Concrete must be slippery or something.
She's afraid of heights.
Oh.
I don't know if you've ever been a dog that's afraid of heights. Well, she is. She's okay.
It's not even a big trouble.
No, it's not. She's just stubborn. Because she literally, we were at a hotel, like I said, a couple of weeks ago. And it's one of those that have like the outside balcony where you can walk, you know, the doors are outside facing. And so she literally could see, she wouldn't walk anywhere near that rail. She had to hop all up against that wall, hugging against that wall.
Goodness.
It was very fun. Very good.
Oops. I'm just going to try to see if it just works. If it doesn't, then
it should work. So you have the right plug. Yeah, that's the right plug. Oh, it's coming up.
Sweet.
It's coming up. So whatever's on these two screens is the same thing that's on the back screen. So
Beauty. You're not even panicking this time.
No, man, we're good. For a late setup, we're in not bad shape.
Nice. I can handle that. Oh, I'm not using that. I was just trying to put a window over there to make sure I knew how to get it across from one desktop to the other.
Two screens is just too complicated for me. There.
I'm going to try to have some notes.
I hear you. You do need that when you're giving better information.
Oh, hardly.
We're just going to get started in 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just going to make sure that this is directed like this. All right, that's hopefully okay. Okay. Hobson, are both of these yours?
Yes, sir.
Do you want them now?
Yeah, might as well, so I don't forget them. Appreciate it.
You're scheduled second. Actually, schedule. I don't see the first speaker. Well, I'm a good guy. Sometimes I wonder if there's the I got you. I know. Paul here? Paul Tabasco? No, doesn't look like it. Out there. Well, he doesn't show up real quick. You're first. All right. We're just gonna get started and we'll see how it goes. All right, you're here for San Diego Python. You're in the right place, hopefully. I just wanted to check. Paul is not here. All right, well, one fewer talk for tonight, unless he shows up. Maybe, we're fluid here. All right, I'm David. I'm one of the organizers. I do want to thank Qualcomm for having us here. They've been great, just giving us this venue at night to, host our meetings here. And specifically Drew and Urivan for setting everything up with the learning development people and everything. They're kind of the people who directly sponsor the meetup in terms of letting us be here. So it's been awesome. I also want to thank Jeremy, who's not here. He's having some car troubles, but he's the one who sets up all the speakers. So he's awesome, and he's my co-organizer. Normally he's over there. That's why I was pointing, but he's not there today. Cool. I also want to thank Neo4j. Neo4j provided the pizza for the meetup. Neo4j provides a graph database that for certain types of operations can be orders of magnitude faster than a traditional relational database. You can download it yourself and run it, or you can run a managed version in the cloud of your choice. Awesome. Ooh, I also have, I'll do something in between the speakers, but I think they also have a giveaway. So yeah, I'll make sure to pull that up so that I can get people, because I think you have to put in you have to either scan a QR code or something. I'll get it for you. Awesome. I have a couple other announcements before we just dive into our first speaker. There's a Saturday meetup. It's at 10 a.m. It's online. It meets on Discord. If you don't have the Discord, you can join our Discord from the website, sandiegopython.org. That's our website. It has links to all the stuff. Our YouTube channel where this meetup is being streamed. It has our code of conduct on there. It has the link to like all the past meetups. You can watch them on YouTube. And it has a link to the Discord, which is where the Saturday group meets. It's 10 a.m. It's virtual. They meet in like the audio channel. It's a little bit different than this. There's not always like a set speaker and things like that. It's more of a bring your laptop. There's people chatting about various projects that they're working on, that kind of a thing. So if that's interesting, and you can like show up, you can leave it if it, whatever you want to do. It starts at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Awesome. Cool. One of the other things, the website for San Diego Python is actually open source. It's written in Python. And if you want to get involved with the site, in adding stuff to it, it's available on GitHub. And there's people on the Discord happy to guide you. There's a whole channel for it. It's the web channel on the Discord. You'll be interacting with mostly me. But, if you're interested in that kind of thing, cool. I did want to mention, there's a jobs channel on the Discord. So if your company is hiring or you're looking for a job, the jobs channel is a good thing because, there's like 25 people in this room right now, but there's 600 people in the Discord. So, if you post things to the Discord, over the month, they'll get seen by like more people than if you just, shouted it out here in the meetup. Cool, yeah. I also wanted to just mention a couple like upcoming and past conferences. Did anybody here go to DjangoCon US, which was last week in, hey, you attended virtually? How was it?
For the parts that I could catch, really good.
Okay.
I love the talks. I look forward to binge watching them over the weekend.
Nice. So the talks are all going to be posted. They're on pyvideo.org, right? Or do they?
They will be, but it's going to be a few weeks when we capture them. If
Got it.
If you have a virtual ticket, they have the daily recordings.
Got it.
And
Okay.
there's timestamps, so you can
So a couple weeks and they'll all be posted, but if you bought the ticket, then you can watch it right away. That's cool. Awesome. And then there's one other like kind of conference before the end of the year. There's not actually a lot of in-person conferences before the end of this year, but there's a PyLadies conference coming up in December. It's virtual. And if you go to conference.pyladies.com, it's going to be virtual. It's December 6th to 8th. So yeah, if that's your thing. PyLadies conference, which I don't know. I think there was a PyLadies conference, but I don't think it's been every year. So cool to see them back in action. And the other thing that is on our website, which is of critical importance, is it has the link to sign up to be a speaker. This is the most important link on the website. I should make it bigger. That is. We need to change the website, make the button bigger. But basically, I and Jeremy are kind of the speakers of last resort. So when we don't get enough speakers lined up, we have to give talks. So I am highly motivated to get people to sign up to be a speaker. All talks of all skill levels are great. We are always looking for like advanced talks as well as like beginner talks everywhere in between. So, and they only have to be like 7 minutes. So don't feel like, there's some huge burden. We have a 100% survival rate of speakers. Everybody who's given a talk has lived. Not every conference can say that, but we can. Awesome. And lastly, before we jump into our speakers, I just want to thank JFrog. They've been a longtime sponsor of San Diego Python. They are a DevOps platform for continuous releases. And for example, if you need to host like a PyPI inside your company firewall, they have a thing for that. And they also, they protect you from like when a PyPI project goes away and somebody like squats the PyPI project. I saw this whole video about how this was happening, and they have a protection against this. It was really cool. Cool. And so since Paul is not here, Trey, you're up first. So Trey Hunner is going to talk to us about what's so great about Python 3.13. All right. Do you have HDMI or are you USB-C?
HDMI.
Okay. All right. Well, here's the HDMI. I'll let you do it. I'll get out of your way.
That's not what I want to show you. There we go. All right. So I have given a lightning talk at this meetup before, I think, on how to give a lightning talk. And in it, I say, don't do a live demo. I'm going to do a live demo. Yeah, something jostled. I don't know if it's on this cable, that end. I can
It was
unplug
working.
and plug it back in.
That's it usually
That's the
magically-
magic.
That's the magic right there. So
Oh, it looks like it's,
some magic.
there
is
we
happening. Okay, you're good.
so.
Sad days.
Yeah. The problem is when I touch my computer is when it happens, and I'm going to be typing. Oh, I think that worked. There we go. All right, I will slowly touch my computer. So, who is using Python 3.13? Who's using Python 3.13 as your main Python interpreter? Okay, I got you. I'm using Python 3.13 as my main interpreter, mostly for one feature that I use while teaching Python, because I teach Python to teams and individuals, and I want to sell you all on upgrading to Python 3.13 as soon as you can. It will be released, hopefully, fingers crossed, next Tuesday, October 1st. Sometimes things get delayed for reasons unforeseen, but this last release candidate 2, it seems like there's nothing that's going to, completely delay things. So hopefully on Tuesday, it'll be officially released. You can install it. Don't upgrade your projects to it immediately because the third-party packages you're using may or may not immediately support it. However, playing with it on your own machine, I highly recommend. The biggest feature that I would argue is really puts Python 3.13 in the category of Python 3.6. Anyone know what was added in Python 3.6? Not that, although 3.13 does have the global interpreter lock is actually kind of on its way, not out so much as somewhere. Python 3.6 got f-strings. F-strings, this thing here. If you've got some variable or some code you have inside your string in those curly braces. That was a huge feature for me, at least in terms of the way I actually use Python. Python 3.13, I'd say the big, really big winning feature is this thing that I'm in right here, the REPL. Anyone notice what's different about this REPL? It's very, very subtle. Yeah, what was that? So it's, well, you can kind of see it on this projector here. The prompt is magenta. That's it. It's the only thing that so far we see that's different. Very, very slight bit of color there. It's not colorized. There's no syntax highlighting, just the prompt is magenta. Also, though, it's auto-indenting, which is pretty nice. And when I hit the up arrow, what normally happens? The previous line of code. I get the previous block of code. We live in 2024. Now, this, of course, is already supported in IPython and BPython and all of the other alternative REPLs, so why do you care? Well, if you have Python installed globally and you don't necessarily have those other things installed globally, it's really nice to just type Python and get a pretty interactive, nice, friendly environment. Some other things that change, and the fact that I can edit a block of code here is pretty nice, but also, if you paste code from the REPL into a file, what happens? If I open up a file here, I say, this isn't runnable Python code, right? I've got these little things here. So the REPL now has a history mode. I believe it's F2. Nope. Oh, there we go. F2. And at the very bottom of my history mode here, I can see what I typed without that little prompt there. So not the neatest of features, but if you're copy pasting from the REPL into your text editor, this is really handy. However, the biggest problem I usually have with the REPL isn't copy pasting from the REPL to my text editor. It's the opposite. So back in Python 3.12, our current REPL, we can tell because it's not color coded there. There's no syntax or no color coding on a prompt. When I paste this class, anyone want to guess what it's going to do? I know some of you have done this before, and
I haven't done it in forever, but I know it breaks.
right, you haven't done it forever, you know it breaks, and you're right, it's done after the doc string. It sees it as, you've ended this block of code because we hit an empty line. The REPL is very dumb in the sense that it doesn't understand pasting. It knows typing code. How do you end a block of code in Python? We don't have curly braces, right? We're not like Java or C where you can put curly braces as a start and end. It's all indentation. Well, there's no way to indicate indentation being done at the REPL, so we use an empty line, which is a problem for pasting. So in 3.13, they use this feature that was added to pretty much all terminal emulators back in like 2000 or so, which was after the Python REPL was invented, of course, because the Python REPL is very old. The old one is, at least. It now knows that you're pasting. You can paste a block of code and it just works, just as it does in IPython and other REPLs as well. So they're kind of, catching up here, playing catch up with other REPLs out there. Some other niceties is when you are working a block of code, as I already showed, it kind of auto indents you there. Speaking of indentation, backspace, deletes that whole code as you expect it to. Normally when you hit the tab key in the REPL, what does it insert? A tab. This annoys me when I'm teaching Python, because if I'm teaching and I'm editing a block of code, kind of manually hitting up arrow over and over, I'm usually hitting 4 spaces. Or rather, I'm copy pasting code that has 4 spaces. You can't mix tabs and 4 spaces. It's all 4 spaces now. So when you hit the tab key, it's inserting spaces for you as you'd hope it would in a Python file as well. Also, anyone ever done this at the REPL? What normally happens? Not a name error. Something even more annoying.
You get told, yeah.
Especially when you're new to Python. I want to exit. Use exit with parentheses. Why didn't it just exit? It didn't just exit because this was kind of a weird hack, the way they made this work. Now it actually exits. In fact, there are other commands it has as well. You can clear, which, how would you normally clear on, say, Mac and Linux? Anyone know the shortcut? Yeah, Control L. I believe that actually works on Windows now, which it did not before, which is a really nice thing. And if you're switching between different operating systems, Control L working on all operating systems is nice. I'm not certain whether it works, and in fact, I'm also not certain whether, thanks to this new REPL, the way they implemented it, Control A, which brings you to the beginning of the line, Control E goes to the end, Control K deletes to the end. There's lots of little niceties here that I think actually work on Windows now. I don't know though. So if any of you install Python 3.13 on a Windows machine and can let me know whether any of those work, I would like to know because I will be teaching with this with my students using it fairly soon in the next couple weeks as people start to install the newest Python. And I'd like to know, ahead of time whether those things work. So this isn't just about the REPL, though. I want to quickly mention at least a couple more things that 3.13 got, kind of new features. So when you are making a virtual environment, make a project, we'll call it project. And I'm going to do this first in 3.12. So Python 3.12-mvenv, I'll call this .venv. So I'm making a virtual environment in the directory .venv. Maybe I'll give it a prompt of stpython. Takes a little while. Eventually we'll make the virtual environment, then we can activate it. Since I'm on Linux, source.venv bin activate. I'm in my virtual environment. If I am inside a Git repository, if I do git status, what am I going to see? Yeah, I just made a new directory. I need to ignore this thing, right? I need to add it to my .gitignore file. The typical way to do this is you make a .gitignore file, you add .venv in there, maybe some other stuff. What if your coworkers, though, for some reason they like naming the directory venv? Well, now you gotta add both of them, unless, of course, they know how to make a global gitignore file. Things get complicated at this point. So instead of any of this, I'm gonna delete that file. I'm also going to delete the VENV. We're going to make a virtual environment with Python 3.13, which is my default Python. And then I guess we should deactivate the virtual environment since we deleted it. I'm not even sure how we're in it still. So activate it, get init. Oh, I've got a git repository. Well, when I do a git status, we don't see the .venv file. How? Any guess as to how this? I did not know how this was possible. Anyone want to take a guess? Yeah?
This is what PyCharm does by default.
Uh-huh.
It inserts a git ignore file in there.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing you could do. You can nest git ignore files, and in fact, in the git ignore, what's in the git ignore? Do you know, Jorge?
I don't know.
Asterisk. It ignores itself. So the virtual environment directory is kind of git aware. It makes a .git ignore file in itself to indicate to any git repository it may happen to be inside, ignore me please, which is typically a good idea because virtual environments are not portable. You cannot move them between machines and expect good things to happen. So it's, again, a very small feature, but a really nice feature, especially if you're teaching Python, because this is something I have to spend multiple minutes kind of explaining and teaching and making sure we don't accidentally do whenever I'm teaching, Django and Python and Git and virtual environments all at the same time. Also, the Python debugger got some improvements. Let me copy paste a file in here. So this program here has a bug in it in that if we try to read certain files, we might end up getting a Unicode decode error or something of the sort, and we don't know which file gives us the error. We don't even have the file at all right now. So right now it can't even read the file. So pretend there's some kind of Unicode decode error and you don't know which file it is, but when you try to read the file, there's an error, which means it would be this line of code that's the problem here. So I could put a try except here and say, well, I'm just gonna, for now, really to fix this problem, what I might wanna do is have some kind of proper exception handling and, deal with this case especially since I'm being lazy. I'm just gonna catch any exception that might occur and set a breakpoint. This does not work or didn't work back in Python 3.12 the way you might expect. When you set a breakpoint, when we call this function here, which line of code does it look like we ended up on?
Line 6.
Line 6. Breakpoint puts you on the next line of code, which puts us outside of the except block, which unfortunately means this E variable that we'd normally be able to access inside the except block, because of the way exception handling works in Python, it kind of has its own scope, which almost kind of breaks the rules of Python in a sense. There is no E. We can't look at this. We'd have to kind of put another line after this, like pass, just for the sake of being able to get access to that thing and be in the block. You don't have to do that in Python 3.13 though. They made it so that breakpoint always puts you on the correct line of code. So our breakpoint, we're inside the block on the breakpoint line. We actually have access to that E variable. Another thing that they changed in PDB is, you may have tried to do this before and not realized what was going on. Help of, say, stir. This works. So if I'm in PDB in Python 3.12, and I make a breakpoint, I say help of stir, this is what it has said for years and years and years. No help for parenthesis stir, close parenthesis. What does that mean? Any guess as to why it says this? I've always just been frustrated and not cared, then years later finally learned what's going on here. It's doing this. Help of L tells you the PDB command L works this way. It's using PDB's help, because when you're in the Python debugger comes first, unless it thinks you're running a line of Python code. And if the way it knows whether you're running a line of Python code is it does a prefix check. If the line starts with a valid PDB command, it assumes it's a PDB command. Now in Python 3.13, they look for things like parentheses or plus or things like that. So you can say, for example, list of something, and it'll actually use the list function instead of using the pdb list command or trying to use the pdb list command. So little tiny niceties that were improved in the Python debugger. So in summary, the Python REPL improved. PDB got some nice little improvements. Virtual environments now ignore themselves. The things I didn't mention are mostly things everyone else is talking about and probably won't matter for you at all day-to-day during Python. In 3.13, they also they added an experimental free-threaded mode and an experimental just-in-time compilation option, which does not yet make Python any faster, but it isn't any slower either, which is actually a really hard thing for them to have done. The next version of Python, maybe this JIT mode, will actually be faster for some things. And there's other things like it's officially supported on certain mobile platforms and some other stuff that you're probably not going to notice. It's great that these are in Python. We're moving in great directions as far as improvements go, but those aren't going to matter for us mostly day to day. So these are the three things that I think are really the big winner features for those of us just using Python day to day. Any questions? By the way, Python 3.14 is going to be a pun because 3.14, it's the Pi version of Python. I don't know what we should do around the time it's released, but we all need to celebrate the Pi version of Python sometime next year. Question?
What are some new modules in Python 3.13?
And PyPI will have the version number in its name.
PyPI will have the version, oh yeah,
IP.org.
that's weird. What are some new modules in Python 3.13?
Are there any?
I don't think so. However, they've been in this process over the last few years of what they've called dead batteries removal. There are definitely removed modules. Which ones I couldn't tell you, mostly because they didn't affect me apparently when I tried to test 3.13, which is a good thing, right? They're removing dead batteries. They're removing things that we don't care about. I think 3.12 removed the imp module or something having to do with it because import lib is the thing you're supposed to use instead. And something I was depended on something that used it. And so I had to wait a while to actually, use the new version of Python. Yep.
I don't remember if I have this correctly, but I think disutils is being removed.
I think it was removed in 3.12. I think. I might be wrong about that. One thing that I know, it's not a new module, but it's a new interface, I guess. The random module now has a command line interface. So you can, for example, give it, some names, and it randomly selects one of these choices here. Or you can give it some numbers, and it, randomly gives you an integer from 1 to that integer. So, not the coolest thing, but also kind of neat that on any operating system, if you have Python installed, you've got this random module to use. The command line interface in 3.14 for JSON is changing in a very subtle way that probably no one's going to care about because I suggested it and some core developers said, well, you could do that. And so I made my first contribution to 3.14. Pathlib in 3.14 is getting a big change. That's fun. But honestly, 3.13, there's a lot of really big changes, but they're mostly really low-level under-the-hood changes that we will be happy about in a couple versions from now with the experimental, JIT and free-threaded mode. Any other questions? Yep.
Do you use much the Wrapup?
Yeah, all the time. In fact, I honestly, when I have some numbers I want to add together, it's just a calculator for me, right? I open up the REPL whenever I have to do an experiment of some sort. I copy paste some code in there. I try something out. I'm now glad about history mode because what I did before is I'd copy paste from the REPL into a file, and then I'd go, delete 4 times. I use Vim as my text editor, so I delete 4 times the next line, and then I repeat the same command, which it works, but it's a little bit more tedious than open up history mode, copy paste. So yeah, I love the REPL for experimenting with stuff, and I recommend my students use it too, because it's, once you're familiar with it and its quirks, it's a really quick, kind of mini prototype before your prototype kind of thing. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, I guess we could wrap it up and go to the next speaker. Thank you.
What was that? Did you do the slide for Neo4j? I sent it to you on Discord.
Oh, you did. You open up my Discord.
I put a DM, so.
Oh, Discord is updated. It never updates.
It updated
My
automatically.
Discord
You didn't-
updates
you
all
didn't
the
have to
time.
go to the.
No, it just updates now.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Here we go. I keep adding Discord things.
Oh no, I posted it. I sent it as a DM.
Oh, it's a DM. Okay.
Yep.
Oop. Let me grab that and get the right thing. Oop. That. Oh, that's all right. Take a tour. I don't think. Do we want a tour right now? Wait, that didn't work.
Oh,
Where's the full screen view?
slideshow? Maybe in the upper right. Oh, okay.
There we go.
Hey. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. So this is a giveaway from our sponsor Neo4j, which I promised you in between the talks. So they are giving away a mini drone. This is not exclusive to San Diego Python. So like, I think other meetups that I think they give away one drone a month, but they sponsor a bunch of meetups. But you know, not that many. So you have a good shot of winning if you like scan the QR code, and I think you probably have to give your email or something like that. But if you wanna enter, you can scan the QR code or go to that website and you know, enter to win one of those quadcopter drones. So, and you know, just thanks to Neo4j for sponsoring us. They've been awesome. So, yeah. Well, somebody posted that there is a new module. I'll give you your laptop back. I think I looked it up too. There is a new module. It's like a Berkeley DB module.
What does that even mean?
It's like this super old database format.
Why did they add that?
That's funny. That's a question for somebody else.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, David, you're our next speaker. Do you want help moving the table over?
Yeah.
All right. David is going to be talking to us about Game Over, not really, a multiplayer game written in Python. This is the continued version, because I know we had some hiccups with the networking on the multiplayer game last month or the month before. You got it.
I think it was last month, right?
Yeah, I think so. I will get out of your way. And then you have just HDMI, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Just HDMI. Okay, I need a few minutes to set up here. Okay.
And you have audio coming over the HDMI.
It should have audio, yeah. Is this the HDMI right here?
Yes.
Okay.
You don't have the issues that Trey was having.
Yeah. Okay.
There are adapters for other things, but I think you just have HDMI, right?
Yeah.
And while I have everybody, Paul is still not here, right? My speaker, Paul? No. We still have another speaker.
Okay.
We got a comment on the chat. Somebody asked if they can join from the chat, but I said probably not.
You wish. You have to be.
Local Wi-Fi, right?
You have to be present. Yeah. But I'll talk about that in just a second here. I'm just double checking here. Okay. Okay. Let's see what happens here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you all for having me back. I don't know if you remember from last time I tried to present my video game, and we actually got it started.
it was pretty cool for just a few minutes and then it crashed. Well, I actually got a few more chances to present this game, and one of the groups I attend is back at my sort of my home base, which is Colorado Springs, and there's a game development group there, and I took the game there and I set it up, and we got 17 people playing at the same time, so it was really cool, and so I was really happy. The game actually ran all the way to level 3, and then it crashed. So let's see if we can get to the end. There are only 5 levels. If you don't recall, or if you weren't here when I presented last time, the winner of the game will get this Starbucks gift card. So get ready, pull out your cell phone, and you will be able to connect to the game server, which is coming right up in just a minute here. That is barring any disasters, like last time. We were just talking about live demos, and this is another live demo. So pull out your cell phone. Step 1, connect to the Wi-Fi server, Dave's server, and then scan the QR code, and you can get into the game. The game is currently set, I think, to start with minimum of 8 players, so I will need at least 8 players in order to get the game started. It looks like one person's trying to get in right now. That's good. All right. Jorge, thank you. Oh, it is? Okay. We have a frog, ladies and gentlemen. Frog has entered the game. Now there should be sound. If you can pick up those $ signs, it should make some sound. Let's see if it happens. Yeah, did you hear that? Okay, so there's a few sounds. There's not many sounds in the game. Okay, looks like we're stuck at 6 players. Do we need another few players? I can join myself if we don't have enough. Yeah, it's not going past the start. Yeah, it might be because the internet connection might be overloaded. So I'm going to ask if you can just try again. Yeah, it looks like it dropped down to 2 players. This has happened to me a few times, and I don't really know how to prevent it from happening. But if it doesn't allow the internet to pass through the device, it won't let you connect. Yeah, it's dropping everybody. So I might try to reboot and start again. Yeah, it dropped everybody. Look at that. Okay, let me try again. You want us to reconnect? Let me think here. Maybe I'll try restarting. Yeah, it did work for me for at least 1 player. And like I said, I did get 17 players the other day. So I think it will work. Just let me try rebooting here. Okay, let's see. Couldn't get to the internet and decided to connect back to Qualcomm. Yeah, so I'll try rebooting. It'll just be a few minutes, and we'll try again. And yeah, I don't know why it might do that, but I have seen it do that before.
You're using a Raspberry Pi as a hotspot?
It is just a Raspberry Pi, yes, and it's a hotspot, and it passes the internet through. And that's what allows you to connect, because if I don't provide an internet connection, your cell phone will say, hey, this is a security problem, won't let you connect. So it's kind of an unfortunate requirement. see somebody's trying. You probably won't be able to get in. Whoever's trying to get on probably won't let you, but it will in just a minute. It was. It's okay. I mean, this happened last time too, when people were trying to get on, and then I had to reboot. Okay, let's see. See what happens here. Okay, good luck. Unfortunately, I don't have 20 people at my house where I can test this every day. Okay, we got one person connected. I can code, say again?
Yeah, you can code clients. Now get other Raspberry Pis.
Yeah.
Put a dummy program there.
Yeah. There is something I failed to mention. There is for the iPhone users, there's some issue. And by the way, that's something I'm still looking for. I don't have an iPhone. If you have an old iPhone, I'd love to borrow it. Phone you're not using. I can tell you how to get around some of the issues. It will display the controls on the browser, and you may have to rotate the phone a few times, and it'll redraw the screen, and it might make it usable. I've seen situations where it's almost unusable because it has to do with the canvas, HTML5 canvas, and the controls. So, okay, we have one person. Maybe they've gotten around the issues. Let me see what happens if I try to connect. So we have one person able to connect. Let's see what happens when I try to connect.
You're getting asked for credentials.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me last time, or one other time.
Is the game running also in the same device, the Raspberry Pi?
Yeah, it's also serving the internet as well as running the game. Yeah, mine says no internet access right now. Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, come on, Raspberry Pi, give us internet. Why are you struggling here? Maybe there's some interference here. Yeah, I wonder if it's something in the hall, because I haven't found the connection in the hall is okay, but it's not. I constantly get warnings from YouTube that we're straining the connection. Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, maybe that's it. Oh, you know what? That's a good point. Let me I'm gonna actually serve it through my phone. Let's try that. That'll be interesting. Well, if I can, let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna give it one more try, unless we're out of time, right? We have a few minutes. Yeah. If nobody's doing anything anyways, I'll try. I'll give it a try. Okay, let's see now. So I'm gonna disconnect.
I finally got it.
You finally got what?
Right when it disconnects, never connected.
Oh, you did? Okay, let's try it. Let's see. I'll put it back. Maybe it's gonna work here. Let's see. Yeah, there's two. Okay, let me see. I'm gonna try mine. No? No, it's not. I don't think so. No internet. It just says no internet. Yeah, it's trying. It just won't. It's just not going to give it to us. Okay, let me. Okay, I'm going to try what I said I was going to try. And then if that doesn't work, I'll be out of options. Okay. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'll disconnect that.
Let's see what happens. Okay, try connecting and see. Dave, yes. Deep. 3 people. Four. Maybe we're making some headway here. 5. I need 3 more to get started. What are we on? 6? 2 more, please.
Hey, we're close.
7, 1 more, please. Do we have an 8th person trying? Eight. Yeah, just gotta type in your name and click OK or something. Like I said, 09 now. Just remember, for iPhone users, if your controls are weird, try rotating vertical, horizontal, vertical.
We have 8, I think.
10, it's working now. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and get us going into the first level. This is not the first level. This is the intro level. We have 11 people potentially coming in, so that's good. It's got 98 seconds. I'm just gonna fast forward a little bit so we can actually play some of the game before it crashes. Okay, it's 30 seconds left. Okay, there's gonna be a level 1. There's 5 levels. They're each a minute to like 2 minutes. So we have like 10 minutes of play time, and at the end, whoever has the most dollar signs will be declared the winner. And well, assuming we get that far and it doesn't crash, but I'd love to see it. Oh wow, potentially 13 people here. Okay, here comes the first level. Come on, yes. I'll read the text for you if you can't read while you're playing the game. Keep the loot you exit with, or lose it all when the timer runs out. Now that timer, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of up in the upper middle of the screen. It says 41 seconds. And by the way, new players, you can still come in. You can still play the game. It's not going to prevent you from playing. There's a little exit. It's kind of like a little portal in the bottom left corner. Just run down there and get out before the timer. I'll try to inform you where the time is. Remember, it takes time to move across the screen, and you got 20 seconds left right now, so you might want to start moving over there, or you're going to lose all your loot. 12 seconds. Very good. People are learning the game very quickly. 5 seconds. Sorry, greedy people. You're gone. There we go. Eric's in the lead. Okay, stand on buttons to open doors. 14 people trying to connect. That's great. Very good. That's right, it is, yeah. Oh, 20 seconds left. You better get moving, guys. 15 seconds. 10 seconds. You wish it would kill you, don't you? It's a good test. I'm glad somebody's testing my programming skills. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys figure it out.
You need to get enough people on it.
Say that again?
You need to get enough people on one of the buttons.
Okay.
More people on the button.
I have an Android. Probably lag.
Need like one more person. Hey, yeah, stop.
Cooperation, guys. It's called cooperation.
Oh, it opens the top door. Oh.
You had to learn the hard way. I'm sorry.
And this top one probably opens the bottom door.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Ten seconds left, guys.
Yeah, I think we're just dead. Yeah, classic prisoners. The
4 seconds. Oh my gosh, down to 2 players that even have any money. Very good. Okay, I think this is the second to the last level. Cooperation, guys. Cooperation.
We see who's not cooperating.
I'm taking names and screenshots.
Understand how to fish in the.
So somebody has to go through and push the buttons on the other side.
Well, you know, you might want to think about who you're letting through there.
All right, let's let those couple people in.
Cooperation.
This isn't the Hunger Games, people. We need to get on the button.
Starbucks gift card. Free coffee.
So that button said 12, that means 12 of us need to be here. And one person goes through. There's a searching button.
You never planned to give that gift card away, did you?
Previous meeting, what to do here.
We need, I think everybody but one person on the button.
That's
Oh,
correct. That's correct.
Oh, everybody but 2 people. Oh, somebody got off.
Somebody got late.
No, it's set for the number of players currently in. Come on, ye, help us out here. Help us out.
You gotta stand button.
Help us out, ye. Come on. Oh, you ran out of time. Okay, there is one more level. This will decide the winner. So everybody got 0 now. Back to start over. Okay, here you go. Last level. Winner gets the Starbucks gift card. I hope there's somebody that has more than 0.
Yeah, that happened.
Oh, my God, the hole.
Because my internet connection.
Very good, Jeremy. He was paying attention. $53 seconds left.
Just like in real life.
30 seconds.
Well, you just did a mistake again.
16 seconds. 10 seconds.
Some people got something on this one.
Am I gonna make it out? No.
Oh, that's it. Jeremy won with 170. Okay, Jeremy, where's Jeremy? There you are. Okay, congratulations. Just you come down and give your acceptance speech. No. Well, thank you everybody for playing the game. It's been a lot of fun trying to get this far. I'm happy I at least got through the whole thing and it actually ran and worked. Here you go. Thank you. Congratulations.
Do you want to tell us about the Python aspects of the game?
Well, I will talk a little bit about the Python. It uses Pygame and a number of libraries. And I have presented this at the last meeting. You can look at the libraries I used. And you know, game development in Python is a real thing, and people do it. And there's even a Pygame group or Discord where we have competitions. And even in the Python Discord, they had a PyWeek recently, which was a game development over 1 week. And I didn't join that, but I try to join those events. They're a lot of fun. I think they are. You know, it really requires you to work really hard and, you know, try to do something. And I have a game this is kind of based on that I developed in one of those game jams. They're called game jams, if you don't know. But this game has other aspects, and I'll get off the stage in just a minute, but I do want to say that aspect is the, I call it either cooperation or competitive cooperation, right? You might say, all of you in the room playing the game were frenemies because you have to be friends in order to get past a certain point. And by the way, you guys failed on that level 4. I mean, come on. you have to cooperate. So I think that the game would work a little bit better if I could bring people closer together. And in some settings, we would have, you know, a crowd of people perhaps. And that way you're not spread apart. That way you can really communicate a little bit easier. So I would like to experiment with that. And the idea of the game is those aspects, is that it forces people to work together. And it's not an internet game where you can sit at home by yourself and play, where other people are just strangers. But it forces you because you have to make that local internet connection. You have to make that Wi-Fi connection. So it forces people to be in one group to play the game. And that's really why I made it that way. So I think I'm done. I don't know, maybe, I don't think there's really time for questions, but you can ask me questions after the meeting. Thank you very much.
The iPhone part worked fine for me, by the way.
Oh, great. I appreciate that. I'm still going to work on the iPhone upgrades. If anybody has a spare iPhone, I'd love to have it. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Dave.
I was on an ancient iPad and it worked fine.
Oh, it did. Good.
Yeah. This thing is older than my daughter.
Oh, it is.
Very cool. Our last speaker tonight is Hobson. Hobson Lane is going to talk to us about the effective unreasonableness of transformer language models. This is the HDMI, and this is the dongle thing that you were using. Hopefully it just works.
Sounds good.
I don't think you're in the right. No,
Oh,
well.
oh,
So
oh,
this
oh,
thing needs to be
oh.
plugged into there.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah. Otherwise, the dongle is just a.
Oh, I think we had the HDMI in there before.
Wait, it was the HDMI. What is this? This is
that's
this is
USB.
not it. Yes, correct.
There we go.
All right. Hopefully this.
Woo. At least my.
Hey. Do you have audio coming out of the laptop or no?
No. Okay. Yeah, so there's a famous paper, the Unreasonable Effectiveness of Transformers. It's a really great paper, really good demo of what they can do well, which is manipulate words. There's been a resurgence lately of people who, like me, finally people are starting to actually treat these things scientifically and trying to figure out, are they actually smart? Are they actually intelligent? Rather than just calling them AI. The work here was done by me and Vish and Faz Lidin from Uzbekistan. He's the one who built this web app, which unfortunately I can't run because I don't have a good solid connection to OpenAI on this network for some reason. But I'll at least give you the URL to it on Discord. So here's some of the unreasonablenesses you can expect to see whenever you're using a large language model. You should be really careful about how you use them to generate code. Abstraction or generalization, they're typically going to get that wrong unless it's an abstraction that it can memorize. If it's seen it on Reddit, it'll do it fine. But if it has to abstract on the fly about to make a new abstraction of some problem you've given it, it'll fail every single time, literally 100% of the time. A lot of people complain, well, humans sometimes get these things wrong. One of these tests is called the GSM 8K. It's 8,000 grade school math problems. And kids sometimes get these wrong. Yes, but we do not get them wrong 100% of the time once they cross some threshold of difficulty or they're not in the book that we've read. If it's a new problem, it gets it wrong 100% of the time. Spatial time reasoning. So anything about stacking boxes, arranging things in space or time, things that deal with people doing things after their death or before their birth. It's a really common thing to discover in a large language model when you're having a conversation about history. Common sense, that's the birth-death thing, plus food. I don't know if you, early on, ChatGPT, the early versions would tell you that you could put glass in your recipes, broken glass. Ambiguity, clarification, it'll never ask you questions. If you ask it an ambiguous question, it's never going to come back to you and say, what did you really mean? It's going to pretend to know the answer. Anything that requires self-reflection, where there's a lot of clarification that's required. So if the answer should be it depends, it'll never give you it depends. It'll always tell you an answer. It always has an opinion. Just like everybody on Reddit, which was its base training for the foundation of everything it knows. Recurrence and iterative thinking. So if you have to think about something and then build on what you just built, and then build on that and build on that until you eventually reach it, and you have to have any recurrent algorithm, fat chance. Error detection and correction. So this footnote is to a paper where they asked it to solve the graph coloring problem. And this is where you're given a graph of a bunch of connections. You can also think of it as a map, like a map of the United States. You got to put colors on each of the on each of the states so that no neighboring states have the same color. That's a graph coloring problem. And you can, of course, put it in text in a way that the machine can understand it. It will always guess, and it will always get it wrong. And you can point out where it gets it wrong, and it will not fix it. Its accuracy rate is directly proportional to if the answer is in the top 10 of the ones that it could possibly generate, that it has generated, then it will get it right. If you tell it it was wrong and it's given 10 guesses, it will eventually find it. But that's the only way. If you give it a verification, say, no, that's wrong, try again, it will eventually find it. But if you say, no, it's wrong, and this one matches this color, and this color matches that color, you tell exactly where it's wrong, it cannot use that answer to find the correct answer. The next answer it gives will just be another random guess. And if it can't guess it in the top 10, in its list of it has a threshold on the number of guesses it will make on a particular problem before it gives up. But anyway, so graph coloring, can't do it. Recurrence and iterative thinking, error detection and correction. changing words in popular benchmarks. So that GSM-8K data set, that's what we're working on. We're going to try to publish a paper on that. It's these grade school math problems. It should be having no problem. If you change the names of the characters in it, at first it was really awesome because it was getting a lot of them wrong. And then, of course, they grabbed the GSM-8K, they trained it on it with this human-in-the-loop feedback, and it started getting them all right. And so what we have to do to actually go back and figure this out is you just change the names of the people and the objects. Change an orange to an apple, use some foreign words in the problems, and it will get it wrong, whereas a grade school student will still get it right. You can change the numbers so that they're large numbers and they require long division or long multiplication. ChatGPT cannot do multiplication. It is simply memorizing. And it can go out and use tools, and it can go out now, the modern version, 01, can go out there and use a tool and a calculator, write Python code actually, and then execute that code. But if it doesn't do reasoning, it's not going to be able to write the right code. It's going to often write the wrong math anyway. So it has no concept of what math is. It just knows that how to predict the next token, and if you tell it through a prompt, you need to generate the code for it first and run it before you tell me the answer, then it'll go do it, and it'll write some code, it'll just predict the next token of Python, but it's not going to do any reasoning or thinking or verification. You cannot trust it. Planning. You'd think tic-tac-toe would be an easy game. Not much planning required, but there's just enough planning that most of the GPT-4 models cannot do it right. And it will not consistently win if you give it the first move. And that's something even a grade schooler can do. Obviously, chess is no chance for any of the large language models. I'm going to move on to some more fun stuff. These are some of the tests you can do. You can throw on some jargon and slang that's out of context, out of character, and it will not be able to shift gears on the fly. It'll fall back to the dominant statistics of the words in your context. You can repurpose existing words. Obviously, you can use synonyms. Add a relevant text. So if you can surround a word problem with a bunch of other stories and numbers, it will not know which numbers it needs to pull out in order to answer your question. Especially if it requires co-reference, where you say, I'll show you an example of co-reference. Okay, so for this talk, I asked Dolly to create an image for my presentation. Clever Hans, the horse that knows how to do math, facing an engineer, holding a clipboard and taking notes on the answers from Clever Hans. Hans is tapping his hoof in Morse code to tell the team of engineers what to do next as they're turning the dials on the dashboard of a nuclear reactor. And this is what it came up with. Now, notice there's not an engineer listening to Clever Hans, as was done in the real experiment of the horse that could do math. And it's not tapping his hoof, and the clipboard happens, you can't see it in this shot of it. The clipboard is just sitting on the desk, and Hans is tapping its foot near the clipboard. Not at all what I was asking for. There's something else that I didn't like about that. Yeah, so nobody's actually looking at the Clever Hans. They're not actually interpreting it. And the academic papers, the ones that I'm actually reading, that are actually telling me something new that I didn't know, is that they're referring to this as what ChatGPT is doing. A lot of times when people are doing tests, they'll just keep asking it the question until it gets it right. And they'll say, look, I changed the prompt. I did prompt engineering. It knows, it understands me. It feels like it is. It's really good. That's what I want to get back to. Let's go back to that list of problems. Goddard's law. Well, this is not quite one. Goddard's law is once you make a measure a target, it's worthless as a measure. And that's exactly what we're doing. Every single time GSM-8K shows up in the training set, it becomes something that it's trying to do better at. Every time it does human-in-the-loop feedback, what that's doing is it's cheating, because you're telling it all the things that people are asking it, all the common things that people are asking it, and you're telling a human how should it be answering it, and it memorizes that answer and it goes and gets it right on the next time. And so I went back, I did this, the Atlantic magazine did a test where they took the, they asked it, they made up a term. It's one of these things, she said, the journalist asked GPT-4, give me the diagnostic criteria for inherited truculence. And of course, that's not a real psychological malady, but GPT-4 went on and on and on and gave a list of 5 or 6 symptoms that you could measure of. And then she asked it to define truculence, define inherited truculence. What is it? And it gave her a definition, but it was not at all stubbornness and what this really means. But when she corrected it and said, that's not really what truculence means. Could you try again? It got it right. So that's the clever Hans problem. You keep asking it, as you're watching it tap its hoof until it stops at the right number. That's not a fair test. You're not actually learning anything about what the horse knows. So let's get back to that picture of clever Hans. This wasn't too bad. It was pretty close. It was good enough that I was like, yeah, it's pleasing. But that's the imitation game. It's playing the Turing test well. I couldn't tell that this was not an intelligent thing doing what I asked it to do. And that's what the imitation game is. And that's what that's the Goodhart's law at work here. That was invented in the 1940s. Very clever, really awesome way of thinking about whether the thing is intelligent or not. How do I know that you're intelligent? Well, I just have a conversation with you, and if you sound intelligent, that's good enough. But if you start to make that the target, if you start to realize how I'm thinking of you as being smart by the words that you use, you can game it. You can start using big words. You can start saying things that I don't know and I can't disprove, and to start to sound smart. You can imitate smartness without actually being smart. And that's what we've done here with AI. It's not intelligent. So I asked it another question, and I only get 2 shots at this because no way in heck am I paying for a subscription. Create an image for my presentation, a reverse centaur. I put a typo in here, I pluralized it accidentally. Horse head on a human body is in an Amazon distribution factory in a small room. The reverse centaur is pointing out at a row of conveyor belts in front of a worker, gesturing it to them quickly. He's got a catheter and a homemade plastic bottle. This is what they actually had to do this in some of the Amazon factories because they weren't allowed to go to the restroom often enough, and they were getting dehydrated, so they ended up putting a catheter on. This is what it came up with. It put the catheter on the wrong thing. It put it on the reverse centaur, and it gave it a colonoscopy, or I don't know what the heck that thing is coming out of its rear, and it did not put 7 digits on the badge, like people putting. Well, we have some horrible stories in history of people putting numbers onto other people, and that's exactly what Amazon has done to their workers. And this concept of a chickenized reverse, I didn't dare ask it to make it a chickenized reverse centaur. Who knows what kind of glorified thing it would do. And you don't see any conveyor belts anywhere in this image. You do not see the horse is not pointing at the conveyor belt or a box. It's not doing what I asked it to do. That's another thing that language models have a real hard time with, objectness. The idea of an object in the world that's constrained in its extent, and it stays together as it moves around. It might get bigger, it might get smaller, it might change color, it changes attributes, but it's an object. The concept of an object, it does not know. Its only concept of objects in the world are tokens. It literally only has statistical models of the next token. And the token is not even a whole word in many cases. It could be part of a compound word, or it can even be a syllable in a word. There's only about 1,000 to 2,000 tokens in each of the many languages that it knows that it has to pile together in order. And many of the tokens are just one letter because it has to have those in order to be able to spell any possible word. Anyway, its objects are tokens. it's not thinking of real world objects, and it cannot come up with those relationships between objects. All of these tests that are finding this are easy to find. These are can ChatGPT defend its belief in truth? There's some papers where if you have an argument with it and you say, no, you're wrong, I really think that Trump is God's gift to the planet, then it will gladly change its opinion and start agreeing with you. You can tell it misinformation and it will believe you because it doesn't know anything about the world. It doesn't have any common sense reasoning. It cannot argue. It can only mince words, and it's really good at mincing words. That's the one I talked about already, number 1. Number 3, it doesn't know it's wrong. Use it as a toy, but not a tool. If you're using it to write code, fine, have fun. Let it write something, but don't expect it to be reliable. You're going to have to read and probably rewrite every single line yourself because it's going to create stuff that looks perfect. It's going to look great. It's really, really good at imitating intelligence. It's really, really good at stacking tokens together that have the right syntax, have the right grammar, that appear to do everything you want them to do. But you ask it something like, give me the last 10 digits of pi, and it will gladly give you 10 digits, but it's not going to be the last 10 digits of pi. And it'll write a function that can find them. It's gonna do the impossible, and it's not going to even know that it's impossible. If it looks like magic, it is. It's a magic trick. Let me show you the app just so you know what we're working on. Where is it? So we've got an interface to any ChatGPT model that you want, or any and several of the different providers. It'll give you the problem. It was, because I don't have an internet connection, it's not replying. But when it did reply, and I might have a screenshot actually, or a saved tab. Darn, I don't see it. It colorizes the words based on its uncertainty. And you will see it when it goes, like if you ask it, who is the president? The very first word will be highly uncertain. It will say something like, it'll have 2 options probably. You can even get it to give you the list of possible words that it might say. And it'll tell you the probabilities of those words. So because that's all it's doing is modeling the statistics, the distribution of those words. So the very first word obviously is going to be either Donald or Joe, or maybe even Hillary, or one of the other words. And you can go through the top 10. It'll have some probability numbers associated with it. And there's probably, in that case, there's probably a top 2 that it's got. And if it gets that first token right, then of course it knows that right after Joe always comes Biden, right after Donald always comes Trump. And so it's going to get those statistics, and it's going to go down the right train track if you switch it over to the right track. And so looking at those tokens and where those forks in the road are, and which ones it's uncertain about, that can give you a lot of ideas about where to go next. They solved that with GPT-4 and 4.0 and 4.0 and 0.1 with this concept of what's called beam search. I think I talked about that in the past. But that's where you go down several paths in a row and you add up all those probabilities so your total probability for the entire sentence is good. But that's another reason why you can never get it to shut up, because it just keeps wanting to go further and further and further because it knows somewhere in there it's going to hit the stuff that you're looking for. And so it's just going to keep talking unless you can tell it, stop talking, and it will reply. You can tell it to give me a 1-word answer, and it'll give you 2 or 3 or 4. It does not understand, it can't count. It's just trying to do what a Redditor did when it was told those things. And a Redditor never shuts up. Don't trust it.
I had a question though, but what are you actually testing?
The reasoning ability,
It doesn't have a reason. That's not how they work.
tell that to Sam Altman. Tell that to Leon Bergen, who's a professor at UCSD who I did a project with, who hired me to help him measure the correcting of reasoning errors in large language models and whether it was faithful to the truth or unfaithful. He was trying to discriminate between the two different kinds of reasoning that they were doing. You and I know that, but 99% of the world does not. They're calling it AI. That's the misnaming of the whole technology. Yeah. I'm glad you're on my side.
My other point is exactly, does he only test it with ChatGPT-4? Is that correct? No other foundational models?
We're testing on whatever we think we need to test it on.
Can you test with Claude or
Yeah.
Or Gemini?
And they're all language models, so they all suffer the same problem. Some of them augment it. There's a whole discipline around like iterative auto prompting,
Right.
where you get it to look at the answer and then build on it and then try to design a better prompt itself. And what I'm trying to do is show that that's not going to end well. It's never going to work. If it can't even detect when it's wrong, then it has no chance of iteratively optimizing a prompt. It's simply doing trial and error. And if you know that, and if you see the trial and error statistics in that, then you know that literally people are spending their entire career on prompt engineering and auto prompting and building these better and smarter algorithms. 90% of the papers I looked at and read, they were coming up with ways to do automatic prompting and reasoning with large language models. Only 10% spent their time doing science and debunking the reasonability. You and I are not the majority.
Awesome. The thing with the chat, the LLM products, a lot of it looks to me like how Americans think that the British with their accents are smart. It's like, no, they're stupid English folks, right? Because they have a British accent doesn't make them any smarter than anybody else on the planet. And the same thing with LLM. It's like, hey, it speaks, pretty well, but it could just be nonsense. Let's take this discussion offline. I'm gonna just wrap up the meetup, and it sounds like there's a lot of opinions on LLMs, and that's awesome. So, all right. I'm just gonna do the outro. So thanks again to all the speakers. I wanna thank all the speakers tonight, Trey, David, and Hobson, and I want to thank Qualcomm for having us, and I want to thank Neo4j and JFrog for sponsoring the meetup. Thanks. We're cool to be in here for a few more minutes, but we have to be out of the building by 9. Cool. Thank you for coming.